Hey everyone, today we're working on the girder build again. I want to get the lower shock mounts made and welded up so that I can load test this shock and find out if it's going to actually work on this bike. So let's get over to the table and get started. This is going to be a really simple bracket design. I'm just going to be taking this 1" by 1/4" plate steel, and here's a little template just to show you what I'm trying to create. First, I just need to mark the overall length that I want the bracket to be. So in this case, a little over 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to score that. Now, I'm just going to take this 1" bar, it's the same size as the bracket, as well as the cross member that the bracket's going to be welding to, and just mark that down to create my profile, and then just do that on the other side. Okay, so now I've got the kind of overall shape figured out, and I just need to figure out where I'm going to drill this hole. The way that I do that is I set my caliper at half the width of the bracket. So in this case, I'm going to set it to 1/2 inch for a 1" bracket. Then I can just score like this on the side and then again on the end. And that's going to create, hopefully you can see it in the camera, a little cross. The center of that cross is exactly where I want to drill my hole. So I just center punch it. And that'll give me a good start for the drill. Now we can go cut this off and get the shapes roughed out. You could do this with a hole saw too, but they struggle to get through thicker steel like this, so it was just as easy to grind it by hand. Now I'll just get a grinding disc out so that I can perfect the shape. There we go. Okay, now we got our nice shape. That's going to fit well on there. Nice. I'll get another one cut and tack weld them together so that they'll be identical in the end. Okay, that'll hold. Now I'm just going to get over to the drill press and punch this thing out. Well, easier said than done. The joys of a small shop. Got to get to the drill press first. When drilling through metal, it's good to start with a small bit to make a pilot hole and then step up to the final size. Don't forget to dab a little cutting fluid as you go. This will help your bits last longer. All right, now that we got the holes drilled out, let's go get them shaped up. So you'll see here, I always try to lean a little bit towards the side that I'm watching, because then I'm going to cut that down first and I won't flip it and end up with too much cut on the other side. So now that I've got that side close, and I've left it fat all the way around because I'm going to finish it on the belt sander, but now I can go over here and see I've got a little bit extra material here that I can now take off to even them out. Now I'm going to go over to the belt sander and get it perfectly dialed in. I don't know what I did on this thing last, so I just want to make sure that I have my belt sander set up to do a perfect right angle, which I do not. And this is really important to make sure that you're going to make a perfect mirror of your two parts. My last pretty low grit belt, I think it's like an 80, is torn right down the center for most of it. So we're going to see how this thing works. I'll give it a try. It was a little bit scary to work with, but not too bad, and I really like these. I'm going to set this to an angle, and I'm going to actually bevel the whole thing for just a nice little finished look. For this, it's less important the exact number that you get. You know, you're just kind of going for whatever angle you want. I think I might want a 45. So let's give that a try. The beveled edges are looking good, so now I'm going to face them to remove the scale and smooth them out. First, I always make sure that the metal can't slip down here because you don't want it getting sucked into the belt. Got these all faced and looking good, and for the final touch, I'm going to countersink these holes. Okay, so we're all done. Now let's go put it on the bike and see what we think. They're not biased to any different side, so we can just put them on. And there we go. That's how it's gonna sit. So let me show you. That all looks good. And it looks like I've got plenty of clearance here. Not gonna have any interference problems. As this pivots, everything moves up. This will get out of the way real fast with suspension travel. So it's never going to go down closer to this, but it will go up and get further away. So I'm just going to put a nut on there and center this, make sure I'm perfectly centered, and then throw some tacks on here. Okay, here it is, folks. For the first time ever, I've removed all the blocks. She is standing on her own. So rear shock is just temporarily in place, and it's a little bit taller than it's gonna be, so it's gonna be a little lower in the back. And right now, there's no air in this shock, so it pretty much fully compressed. That's why these are facing up too much. And so it's lower than it should be. That's okay, because there's a air inlet right here. I'm gonna just put a little bit of air in it, and hopefully it's gonna go pop. Okay, let's see what this does. Whoa, that's what I'm talking about. A little more. Look at that. Okay. Oh, no, don't lose it, don't lose it. Lost some of it. Oh well. Okay, great. So that's so cool. I only had my regulators set here at 50 PSI, so I haven't put very much air in it. And it already shot it up. I'm gonna put a little bit more because I want it to be a little bit higher than this. But yeah, this is looking good. That's so cool. Okay, the moment of truth. Woo, love it. Yeah, really happy with that. Sorry, y'all, but this is so cool. This is like 2 years in the making, and it's finally coming together. Okay, so I'm really happy with this shock so far. It's only got about 50 PSI in it right now, and it can go up to something like 175 PSI max. So between that and this cute little rebound adjuster here, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be able to dial this thing in really nicely whenever I start test riding the bike. If you're curious about this shock, the brand is called Racing Brothers, and this is their Bazooka shock, which is a heavy duty upgrade for a mini bike like a CRF 110, I think. So now I just need to take apart the front end so that I can get the lower shock mount welded up on the table. So I'm about ready to weld this up, but there's one thing I wanted to mention. If you've ever welded before, you know that it really likes to warp metal. So in order to control the warpage on this, what I'm gonna do is lightly bolt the shock into place like this. And with that cinched down, I can weld the outsides first, because where you weld, the metal will shrink and it'll want to pull it in that direction. So if I weld the outsides with this bolted, it's gonna keep the brackets from opening up. Hopefully that'll work, we'll see. So with that in place, I'm gonna start welding. Okay, so I'm feeling really good about this. I've got full beads on both sides, wrapping around on the inside. I'm gonna leave a little bit undone on the inside just because it's totally overkill and it's just really unnecessary. So calling that done, I'll show you a little trick to help bring stuff back whenever it's warped a little bit. So in this case, this has just become a little bit too tight for my comfort. I want it to just be able to just fall in there. So what I can do is take a bolt, thread it in there, and then it's just as simple as tightening away from each other. And it really doesn't take much. I'm just gonna go like that. Probably all I needed, might even be too much. Let's see. The risk you run here is unevenly warping or unevenly stretching them back out, but as long as you got your welds pretty symmetrical and you're just doing small increments, it's not gonna be a problem. So that was a little bit easier, but yeah, that's still much more than I want. So let me just do that again. There we go. Nice and snug, but not overly tight. Okay, I feel good about that. I'm gonna go get it back together. Okay, so it's all welded up and back together. I know this seems like kind of a small thing to give a lot of attention to, but really that's what building a motorcycle is all about. It's just making a bunch of small pieces and then putting them all together to make something cool in the end. If you like this video, the best way you can support our channel is just by leaving a like or a comment down below. I try to respond to everything I can, and I always love your guys' input. Next week, we're gonna make some brake mounts on the lathe, and we're gonna find out if these calipers are gonna actually fit on this thing. I hope this helps, and ride safe.